Oh my god! He wasn't missing after all. He was just playing hide and seek. Sorry, Michael, I have to go. You've been wonderful.
I have a kiosk in the basement. Cottage core? Is that pornography? A soft humming invaded my dreams, stirring me awake. I blinked my eyes, open to unfamiliar surroundings, swaddled in a blanket that clearly wasn't mine. Where? Oh. I spotted the familiar figure of my host seated on a stool in front of the fire, hands deftly working on a green scarf bundled in his lap. His back was towards me, but I caught glimpses of his fingers, and the needles softly clicked between the yarn. He looked incredibly adept at using them, the rhythmic movements almost hypnotic as the fibers wound together into an intricate pattern. I slowly stirred into a sitting position, rubbing my eyes. The movement quickly caught his attention, ears flicking in my direction before his eyes trained onto me. Just like last night, his pupils blew up as we made eye contact. His expression lit up the instant he saw me. Hey, I'm glad you're finally awake. You looked so tired, I didn't want to disturb you until you have gotten enough rest. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Harry. Did you sleep well? I was still too groggy to answer his question, a yawn slipping out as I stretched. He smiled kindly, a soft chuckle under his breath. Like a baby, then? He pointed over his shoulder at the door beside the fireplace, tilting his head towards it. You can freshen up in the bathroom if you'd like, while I start making us up some food. I'd have eaten breakfast by now, but I'd want you to join me while the food's still hot. How do eggs and toast sound? I can't eat toast because I got bad tummy. I don't want to be fussy though. Ugh. Am I roleplaying? I'm not roleplaying my actual self because I said I didn't say I'd bang the dude. I said he was hot. Sounds delicious. Big save. Great. I'll see you in the kitchen then. He tucked away his knitting materials and set it aside. Oh, and I have a surprise for you after breakfast. It's not the most exciting surprise, but just join me when you're ready. He ducked into the kitchen without another glance. I could hear his boots thud about the floorboards, cabinets opening and closing in succession in the kitchen. I suppose that's my cue. I rolled out of bed, leaving the warmth of Michael's blankets and trotting over to the door Michael pointed out. Stepping inside, I didn't know what I was expecting when he said he had a bathroom, but it was surprisingly spacious. Everything looked like it was carved and polished out of wood. It seemed to have everything you'd find in a modern bathroom. A sink with a cabinet, a shower, a tub, and even a toilet. Curious, I crept over to the toilet, in particular inspecting it. There wasn't a tank like you'd expect where the water would be stored. Instead, there was a compartment to the side full of sawdust and a scoop. I expected it to at least have a bit of a smell, but it was surprisingly odorless. There was even a roll of toilet paper on the side. It was a no-flushing system, but it was hygienic. Where does he get the toilet paper from? Michael must have done his research. Walking over to the sink, I stared at the faucet before hesitantly twisting it. I jumped when I heard the rush of water pouring in, swirling in the basin before disappearing into who knows where. Wow. Why am I impressed by a damn functioning bathroom sink? I helped with the dishes last night. I already knew Michael had plumbing. Shaking my head, I finished freshening up and headed to the kitchen. Michael looked up at me as I entered, a steaming kettle in his hand with 2 empty mugs on the counter. It might have been the lighting, but I think he was taller than I remembered. Glancing over to the table, I can already see he had finished plating up our food. Oh wow, you work fast. Wait a minute, we have a special guest.
Oh my god! He wasn't missing after all. He was just playing hide and seek. Sorry, Michael, I have to go. You've been wonderful. I'll see you later. Just kidding. That's not my cat. I stole him from a shelter.
Oh wow, you work fast. Michael looked proud of himself. Can't have my guests stay on an empty stomach. Go on, have a seat. I'll join you in a moment. I returned his smile and sat down, stomach grumbling as I looked at our plates. Once again, Mychael was generous with the serving sizes. Fat slices of bread were perfectly toasted with crisp buttered sides. Scrambled eggs looked tantalising. The smell of savoury herbs wafted into me nose. Me mouth watered. I don't know why I don't even know what accent that is. Horrid is what it is. Mychael set down a steaming mug beside me. He had taken a massive chamomile? I need to get Google to help me. I have no fucking idea what the fuck this is. Chamomile. I got it right. Look at me. I'm so good. Oh, chamomile? He nodded. I hope you like it. I'm sure I will. His smile widened, his tail swaying at the tip by his feet. He seemed more relaxed, showing his natural features this morning. Any trace of panic and hesitation from last night were gone, replaced by a look of contentment. Mychael bit into his toast and I followed suit. The food was delicious, as expected. The chunk of toast I bit into was heavenly, the butter sweet on my tongue, and the eggs. Something about the simple home-cooked food is just the best, so is hiccups at times like that. Mychael was happy to eat in silence, occasionally looking up at me as I enjoyed my food. He'd smile when our eyes met, his bottom pair narrowing into a squint. I wonder if he'd be open to answer some questions. Hey. So, do you pay double at Specsavers? Or is it like a buy one get one free deal? Do you mind if I ask, how did you learn to cook? How do you have plumbing in your house? What is it like living in the woods? Plumbing is interesting. I know it's a silly question, but I can't stop thinking about it. Oh, you were wondering about that? The embarrassed look on my face was probably enough of an answer. Ah. Well, it's nothing fascinating. It's just rainwater I've got stored above the cabin. Just rainwater? He nodded. I detected a hint of pride as he continued. It's actually a recent installment, believe it or not. Granted, the project took a while, gathering materials, figuring out the tools, finding the right instruction manuals. Plus, I had to figure out where to store the water tank. And don't worry, I've installed filtration systems, so it's safe for us to use. I check it every few weeks to make sure nothing's contaminated. That sounded daunting, especially considering he lived all the way out here in the woods. You did all that on your own? I kinda had to. Is his voice? I feel like his voice has changed. Anyway, I took a whole lot of calibrating and adjusting, but it really worked out. And now that I think about it, I'm glad you get to be comfortable here during your stay too. Does that answer your question? Yes, it does. Oh, where'd you learn? Well, I mean, you have to be resourceful when you're out in the woods. Yes, it did. Thank you, Mychael. Where did you learn how to cook? And cottage pie is a pretty complicated recipe. No, it's not. I just wondered if anyone taught you how to cook. I'd be lucky if someone could teach me how to make boiled eggs, Firefly. But it was a trial and error, mostly. My earlier endeavors were, pretty much inedible. I picked up a thing or two about cooking, though, so your taste buds aren't going to fall victim to any nasty creations, like in my earlier days, at least. Speaking of, did you enjoy dinner last night? Of course I did. You're a really good cook, Mychael with a Y. I'm glad. It probably wasn't obvious, but I'm really happy I got to cook for you. I don't get guests often, in case you couldn't tell. I should ask you to cook for me every day then. He grinned at my joke, looking pleased. I'd be happy to. I chuckled as I took another bite. So what's your favorite thing to cook? He lit up at the question. Cats. Mushrooms. Fried mushrooms. Not cats. Fried mushrooms? Yeah. There's plenty of them, and it's easy to make. Huh. I do remember finding a patch of mushrooms yesterday. They smelled pretty funky, though. You remember that? Huh? What was that? Nothing. Anyways, mushrooms were the only thing I had for a while, before I started figuring out I could eat other things like roots and veggies. Do you forage all of your ingredients? Mostly. Little has a really good offer on at the moment. The times I figured out how to catch fish and hunt game were the best of my life. I'll tell you that. My first taste of meat? He did an awkward version of a chef's kiss, as if mimicking something he had seen on the television once. This is my take on an awkward version of a chef's kiss. God, that was awkward. Hey, I hit the mark. Okay. Mamma mia. Was he trying to say Mamma mia? Here we go again. He continued before I could even dwell on it for a second longer. But nothing beats what humans are able to make. You guys go nuts with ingredients. Literally. You put nuts in everything, it's crazy. Rice was a challenge. It's a precious ingredient since I actually have to get it from a store. But once I figured out how to make it, it was nice and fluffy. I consider it a special treat. I did a double take. You go to the store? Yeah. I'm a Morrison's kid. I'm saying all of these like brand names. American, well, anyone who's not English is going to be so fucking confused. Walmart. I like Walmart, he said. Yeah, where else would I get it? I thought you would grow it yourself, or something. He laughed as I flushed in embarrassment. It's flattering that you think I'm even capable of something that impressive. But no. There are only so much the forest can provide. But what about money? We're talking about human currency, right? Otherwise, how would you even... Do you actually have a job? A thought occurred to me. Or did you steal it? He looked almost offended. Do you take me for a criminal? No, but that would mean... Then how? Mychael bit into his toast with his two eyes winking in mischief. Dink! I have my ways, Firefly. What was that supposed to mean? I give great head to the cashier, Firefly. Maybe you could roleplay. I have a kiosk in the basement. What's it like living in the woods? I still can't believe how cozy you've managed to make it, considering the whole middle of nowhere thing. It wasn't like this when I found it. No? It was a major, fixer-upper? The cabin was abandoned. I never would have guessed. Yeah, I'm really happy I get to live somewhere permanent for once. It's not much, but it's home. What's it like? Peaceful, quiet. I do like it a lot. The forest provides me with everything I need. And nobody bothers me for the way I look out here. His ears twitched slightly. Sometimes you just happen to end up where it's most convenient for you and everyone else. The way he avoided my eyes as he said that gave me the impression that there's something more to it. Like his home wasn't just out of convenience, but a fear of something else. Rejection, perhaps? Or something worse. Anyways, I don't really have anything else to say about it. Unless there's something specific you wanted to ask. Yes, quick save is what I wanted to ask. He doesn't think much about his answer before beaming at me. Well, what about you? I know you've told me a little bit about yourself, but what's it like being you? I scoffed, waving a hand. Please, I'm the least interesting person in the room, trust me. His eyes were shining in earnest as he leaned forward. Tell me anyway. Firefly. Oh well. I told him about my life, at least parts of it I was comfortable sharing. I once clutched on Valorant, and, I E-dated once, and it was crazy, man, like, she was fucked up. That's about it. Just like last night, his eyes didn't leave my face, occasionally darting about my features in interest. The direct oogling was making me nervous, but I suppose I was doing the exact same thing when I when it was his turn to talk. I'm glad I can read. It's a really good skill to have in the modern day. Eventually I came to the topic of my job and the woes of living in modern capitalism. I am a bit jealous. You have the whole cottagecore aesthetic, practically perfect. His face morphed into a confused pout. Cottagecore? Is that pornography? I explained it to him in my own words. Oh, you're saying you want to live the way I do? Out in the woods? I nodded without hesitation. I mean, I wouldn't mind showing you the ropes. Firefly. Do you like red ones, black ones, or pink? His tone seemed strangely lifted. What do you mean? Never mind. Anyways, I don't get what the appeal is, but it's not easier either, you know. The forest provides, but it's up to me to make use of it. Starting out was... Dark look crossed over his face, as if reliving a bitter memory. Rough. But I'm built for survival. I feel like asking him to elaborate would only make things awkward. I decided to veer to the topic of a different direction. Doesn't it get lonely? Sometimes. But I'm used to it. He smiled, his eyes lighting up. Besides, I have you at the moment, don't I? I never thought I'd enjoy having someone around. You must be really special. I'm starting to know a lot more about Mychael. He didn't directly say it, but I felt like he was lonelier than he was letting on. Not to mention how he managed to make a home for himself, all on his own. I had to wonder if he had anyone at all. Do you have any family around? Family? His expression turned solemn for a moment before he looked sheepish. Remind me how that works again. I get the concept based on some books I've read. I don't have what you call parents, if that's what you're asking. My mouth dropped in shock. No parents? He shrugged and took another bite of toast. Not that I recall. What's that like, living with so many people like you in such close proximity? Uh-huh. That's how it works, right? You and other humans living in one house? And you have this, DNA thing that makes you relate to the rest? That's what makes a family, right? Was he talking about DNA? His definition threw me off, but I had to answer somehow. No, not just that. Family is people you're related to, like your mom and your dad and your siblings and relatives. Weird that they spell mom the American way. I don't know why. I just assumed that this was a very English game. But I guess when they called it a faucet instead of a tap was also something I was going to point out, but I got lost in the descriptive writing. I guess that it is an American game. People that you love and care about, who love and care about you too. Actually, I guess they are just people you live in close proximity to, whether by choice or not. People you love and care about. He seems intrigued. Is that so? That does sound nice. Is there anyone that you love and care about? I mean, both. I guess family could be friends as well. Heck, I'd even call my cat family. You hear that, Suggs? Oh, look at him. He's not missing. He's just in dreamland. Ah, right. Obviously. And this is the same for all families? No. It would be naive to think that. A lot of families do love and take care of one another, but not everything's perfect. Sometimes that love can be misplaced, or taken advantage of, or even abused. Mychael looked thoughtful. So it starts with love? I've read some stories about that. Love, I mean. Though certain feelings just don't make sense to me. At least from a reader's perspective. I guess you'd have to experience it for yourself to understand. He stared at me, unblinking for a moment. Yeah, you might be right. I never considered that. Then again, who would bother loving a monster like me, right? What? You're not a monster. I look like one, don't I? That's besides the point. You're not denying it, though. I'm just saying that it's okay. You don't have to lie to me. I own a mirror. Got it from Hot Topic. It's the only place I blend in. So, family? Right. To be fair, everyone's definition of family can be different. What about you? What's your definition of family? Mychael looked surprised I asked him that question. I don't know. I've never had one. And to think your answer just confuses me more. Well, if you ever figure it out, let me know. Mychael stared at the remaining crumbs on his plate before he nodded, avoiding my gaze. Sure. We both fell quiet in the lull of conversation, blanketing us in comfortable silence. All this family talk, it reminded me of the reason why I'm out here in the first place. To look for my beloved cat, a sight I might never be able to see again. I couldn't help the sinking feeling in my chest, the growing pit in my stomach. I wish I was able to find Suggs. You would have loved him. Mychael opened his mouth to say something, but changed his mind. My voice warbled as a lump formed in my throat. Sorry. I just miss him so much. I kept thinking if we just went looking for him sooner, maybe I would have been able to find him by now. He was quick to speak up. You did your best, Firefly. No one else would have gone to the lengths that you did. You almost risked getting yourself... I'm sure wherever he is, he's doing okay. You really think so? I know so. Motherfucker. Suggs is in that little sawdust fucking box in the toilet. We all know it. His voice was laced with confident assurance despite the worried look on his face. I nodded with a quiet sniff. I hope so. He's just important to me is all. Mychael looked like he wanted to reach across the table for me, but sighed instead. Actually, I'm sorry, Harry. I should tell you. Fucking knew it. Maybe I do have a family now that I think about it. That's what the surprise I mentioned before. Wait, really? He nodded. Are you done? I could take you to go meet them right now. I looked down at my plate. During the conversation, I didn't even realize I had finished the meal. Yeah, I'm done. His movements were quick, stacking the empty plates and mugs, setting them in the sink. He grasped my hand before I could say another word, pulling me up and heading outside, with me in tow. As the door swung open, I could only see the forest ahead before he tugged me along as he rounded the side of the cabin. Almost immediately, my peripherals were assaulted with greens on both sides. I figured he was the type to grow his own vegetables, but to see it in person as a confirmation was a whole different thing. With Mychael leading the way, I only had a moment to take in the surrounding garden. He had marked off the different plots with messy drawings on small wooden signs jutting out of the dirt. Carrots, lettuce, potatoes, trellises of tomatoes and beans. Weenie. I wouldn't have been able to differentiate one plant from another without the signs. Even the chamomile from our tea just now grew abundant close by, the small buds swaying gently. I bumped into Mychael as he suddenly stopped, the man looking over his shoulder to beam at me. We reached what looked like a fenced-off area with a bit of netting stretching around. He stepped aside, watching me as my eyes widened. Chickens. 3 fat, happy little hens strutted about like they owned the place. You could describe so many nightclubs like that in England. 3 fat, happy little hens strutted around like they owned the place. That is like a fucking great description. As he entered through the gate, the hens swarmed over in an instant at Mychael's feet, circling him and pecking at his boots. Ladies, meet Harry. Harry, these are Mawa, Sansuyu, and Primrose. Or as I like to call them, Mama, Sunny, and Rosie. He ducked to pick one up, fluffing her feathers as he smiled. He gently scratched the hen's little head, which I assumed was Rosie. She practically melted at his pampering, eyes sliding shut. The other two flapped their wings in a huff and went about their business once more. Mychael leaned closer, beckoning me to pet Rosie. She was so soft. Oh, Rosie's the oldest. She doesn't lay eggs anymore, but I couldn't bring myself to, you know. So I brought her some friends. Mama came first. Sunny is more of a recent addition. What do you think? Do we make a great family? I laughed and nodded, watching Rosie nuzzled into Mychael's chest, wishing it was me. I didn't expect chickens of all things. Were you expecting something else? I was expecting it to be someone else. Oh. No. When you look like me, people generally don't stick around. There's that negative self-talk again. You don't even look that bad. Bad, but not that bad. His eyes flicked to mine, a look of pleasant surprise crossing his face. You really think so? Yeah. You can't be that naive, Firefly. I mean it! He let out a polite scoff as he scratched Rosie's head absently. You genuinely believe people wouldn't run away from the sight of me? Well, I didn't. His smile turned smug, the corner of his lips lifting just a bit. Of course you didn't. You were paralyzed, remember? You couldn't move under my spell. Because you couldn't. Shoot. He wasn't wrong. I was pretty much paralyzed in his bed when we first met. Hey, that's what I just said. But I still don't think you look that bad. Is that so? Describe me then. Green goblin man with horns. What? You heard me. Look at me and describe what you see. For a second I thought he was being condescending, but looking at his eyes, all I could see was a bit of playfulness. He looked at me expectantly, eyes shining. You're tall? Go on. You have blonde hair. He gave it an amused squint, his left ear twitching. What else? You have green skin. And a tail. He chuckled, there was no malice in it. But that's not all, is it? He definitely expected me to say it straight. Oh, fine. So you don't look human, so what? He hummed absently. As I was saying, animals generally don't care if I look like a monster. My heart twisted at his words. His passive nonchalance somehow makes it even worse. Mychael, a tug at my shoelace caught my attention. A light brown hen stood at my feet, her beady eyes shining. Oh, look at the little sparkles. Oh, she's so cute. Sunny flapped her wings almost expectantly. Oh, I think she likes you. Go ahead, pick her up, gently, just like how I did with Rosie. I hesitated, but slowly lowered myself to cup Sunny up by her wings. Lifting her up, she was quick to nestle herself until she was comfortably tucked under my arms. I could feel her wings wiggling as she nuzzled into my side. So cute. Mychael's gaze softened as I cooed at the chicken, mimicking her small clucks. So, did it help? Cheering you up, I mean. Oh, so that's what this was. A fuzzy feeling bloomed in my chest as he looked at me, chicken in his arms and concern on his face. A little bit, yeah. Only a little? I snickered, rolling my eyes. Okay, mister, a lot. That's more like it. His proud grin was infectious. I couldn't help but smiling back. We spent a bit more time with the hens, petting them until they were satisfied. Mychael even showed me the spot where they like to have their dust baths, little chicken-shaped holes scattered about the dry soil underneath the coop. Once the gals had had enough of us, we refilled their water container before leaving. He left them some treats, procuring them straight from his pockets before shutting the gate. The girls' excited chatter over the food faded as we made our way back inside his cabin. I sat by his bed as he crouched down by the fireplace. From the window I could see the sun outside was getting higher. It might be close to the afternoon by now. Hey, Mychael? He looked up at me from where he was stoking the fire. I rubbed my arms, unsure whether to place my gaze. I think it's a good time for me to go now. My expression fell, but I caught myself quickly. He'd done his best to cheer me up. It'll be inconsiderate towards him to leave in a bad mood. I might have to accept that I'll never see Suggs again. I think it's better if I focus on moving on. He was quiet for a moment, hands in his pockets. If you say so. But you don't have to leave just yet. We've still got plenty of daylight left, and there's some places I want to show you. Won't you come with me? I had to decide. Holy shit, I just sent shivers all over me. Holy fuck. That was horrible. I promise I'll take you home right after. He took another step towards me. Please, Firefly. I didn't want to say it, but he looked desperate. Oh, okay. I'll go with you. The joy on his face was shining bright as a billboard. Great. Let me get our stuff. Oh my god, that was horror. Like, holy shit, that was so abrupt and oh my god, that caught me so. I have like an instant. My armpits are instantly sweating. Holy fuck, that was horrible. He disappeared into the kitchen, returning with my backpack in one hand and a satchel in the other. He passed it to me as he walked towards the front door. I almost forgot I had this. Rifling through my bag, I found cat treats, Suggs' collar, a broken compass, and my phone. Oh, look at the little cat paw, just cute. The battery was dead, though. Still, that's one less thing to worry about. I checked through my bag once more, finding an empty water bottle. I frowned, distinctly remembering I forgot to pack water for my trip. Or at least, Mychael told me I did. Didn't I? You ready? Excuse me? I looked up at Mychael, startling when I spotted a large crossbow in his hands. He followed my gaze, albeit with a nervous smile, like he'd been caught doing something he shouldn't. He quickly strapped the weapon to his back and out of sight. Don't worry, I'm not going to use it unless necessary. I would hope not. He chuckled at my indignant tone. You think I'm going to let you out into the woods without guaranteeing your safety? I made a promise to get you home, so that's just an extra precaution. You don't think it's a bit much? Better safe than sorry, Firefly. He did have a point. And a fucking massive crossbow. If anyone knew these woods, and the kind of danger it held, it'd be Mychael. I glanced over at him again, noticing that he had changed his oversized cardigan for something more outdoor appropriate. His eyes tracked mine, his shoulders stiffening as a tint spread across his face. So, shall we? He opened the door and waved me out. Oh my god, I don't like being with this guy anymore. I'm fucking uncomfortable as fuck. I stepped outside to glance around his front yard. The landscape wasn't anything special, it was eventually left quite plain, just thick trees and foliage. Only paths of dirt and flattened grass clued me in the routes Mychael would use as he comes and goes, webbing in all directions trailing to the front door. Come to think of it, anyone passing through would be able to spot Mychael's house if they squinted through the trees carefully enough. I guess he was right that nobody walked through these areas in years. I heard a lock turn before Mychael joined by my side. He smiled wide, tipping his head in a direction, making sure I was behind him before he started walking. I was hesitant, but I followed suit. It was quiet as we travelled, save for the sounds of nature calling out around us. The weather was bright and warm, the sun casting pretty rays through the gaps in the trees. I had to admit, enjoyable as it was, the bird calls and rustling leaves as we walked somewhat brought me bad memories. Yesterday was miserable. I was lost, tired, and hungry. There was a chance I wasn't going to make it out alive. I watched Mychael's back as he led the way, the man barely paying any mind to his surroundings. His ear would occasionally flick in my direction, but overall he seemed confident on where to go. Having Mychael as my guide home was definitely a great assurance. Made me even more grateful he'd found me when he did. I sighed and shook off the negative feelings, keeping pace while appreciating the fresh air. I stepped up next to my companion, willing my voice to speak after plenty of silence. This is actually kinda nice. A good nature walk. I coughed into my fist, feeling embarrassed. I don't go outside as often as I should. Mychael smiled kindly. I'm glad I get to bring you then. Yeah, it feels different when you know where you're going. Actually, where are we going? He sensed my nervousness and laughed. Don't worry, we're almost there. I looked up and saw it before he even pointed it out. A clearing in the distance, the trees growing strangely sparse in that area. I held my breath as I noticed the grass slowly started to dot with flowers, delicate blooms swaying here and there in the breeze. As we got closer, Mychael watched me as my mouth dropped open, knowing a twinkle in his eye. A knowing twinkle in his eye. Ooh, I'm struggling to read. What is happening? Is my brain shutting down? It was breathtaking. A secluded little meadow of flowers lit up by beams of light, making the scenery resemble a page from a forgotten fairy tale. Butterflies flitted around in pairs, their wings flickering and contemplating the surreal yet enchanting ambience of the whole place. Mychael let me gawk some more before walking ahead, turning to face me before sitting down to relax on the grass. He slipped off his satchel and laid it by the grass by his side, with his crossbow. I blinked out of my stupor and approached him, spinning around to drink everything in before plopping myself down next to him. So, what do you think? Pretty, isn't it? I nodded dumbly before finally glancing to face him, the man's gaze on me softening as our eyes met. A butterfly approached us rapidly, making me flinch on instinct. It landed on his finger as he held it out, its wings flapping gently. He smiled at the dainty creature, a fond look in his eyes before he held it out towards me. Do you like butterflies, Harry? I'm kind of neutral towards them, to be honest. Mychael nodded, rotating his finger to watch the creature flutter its wings. I think they're fascinating. They're, metamorphosis? Metamorphosis? He beamed, nodding excitedly. Metamorphosis. My cheeks puffed up, holding back a laugh. Mychael knew he fumbled it, but grinned anyway. That word you said. It's amazing. To have the ability to be reborn into something different. A different creature. The chance to look different. The chance to look beautiful. I scanned his face thoughtfully before pulling my knees up to my chest. It kind of is. That's what TikTok filters are for. To be reborn beautiful. The summer is at its peak now. The air was getting warmer as the minutes passed. The leafy canopy over us provided enough cover for us to not overheat. Mychael picked up a flower with his other hand and placed it in my palm, its tail looping loosely around us both as my cheeks darkened. Call me Firefly, do it. He closed his eyes and leaned back further, the butterfly still resting on his hand. What is that noise? My ears caught a soft rumbling before I realized it was coming from his direction. I almost wanted to ask, but I didn't want to ruin the moment. My gaze dropped as I twirled the flower in my hand, holding the stem delicately. The gesture felt platonic, but also romantic. I wonder if Mychael was even interested in relationships. He'd been alone for most of his life. He'd probably get tired of my presence sooner or later. Before I could contemplate further, the butterfly on Mychael's finger took off, my gaze trailing after it as it left the sunlight and flew away into the woods. Which reminds me. Mychael? Don't get me wrong. This place is stunning, but is it okay if we go now? Don't flip out on me again, it makes me so fucking worried. He straightened from his relaxed slouch. Why? We just got here. I chewed on my lip, hesitating. I love it here, I do. But I want to go home, Mychael. Mychael studied my face. Harry, do you want to leave me that badly? What? No, I need to recover from losing Suggs. I know it's silly and dramatic, but I know he won't be there when I get back. I trailed off, another shot of guilt and regret filling my chest. I just need to get it done with. I feel a hand rubbing my back. Mychael nodded slowly, looking me in the eyes. His smile was gentle. That's okay. I understand. Maybe this place can help with that. Maybe spine tingle again. Isn't it a nice spot to nap in? Isn't it? I picked it out just for you. Why don't you go ahead and lie down? His words made you sway, a sudden bout of sleepiness weighing heavy over your eyelids. He was right. It is a nice spot to nap in. Why were you in such a hurry? You yawned, laying back to stretch out on the grass. The warmth of the ground seeped through your clothes, lulling you into a sense of comfort and safety. There you go. Just spend some time with me. Just a bit more. Please. Oh. There's something else I could show you. He reached into his satchel and pulled out a wooden box. It's called a kalimba. I blinked slowly, clarity coming back as I shook my head to pay attention. The box fit neatly in his hands. Mychael was holding it as if he were typing on a phone. I could see it had a hole in it, with thin strips of metal arranged in a triangular shape over it. What does it do? A proud smirk spread across his face. I'll show you. He began to pluck at the metallic prongs, a gentle ringing sound resonating with every flick of his thumbs. I didn't recognize the song. He might have made it up by himself. I closed my eyes, enjoying the tune. Mychael gave a soft chuckle as he kept playing. Relax and listen, as long as you like, Firefly. He's gaslighting me. A few minutes passed by with Mychael plucking away at the instrument, the two of us sunbathing like cats on a Sunday afternoon. I must have dozed off. The next thing I knew, I felt a nudge on my shoulder. Comfy? He chuckled low when I refused to open my eyes. I mean, if you'd rather stay. My eyes shot open, my whole body jerking to sit up. Mychael glanced at me, kalimba in his lap, and a half forget-me-not chain in his hands. What? I shook my head, slapping my cheeks. Can't believe I fell asleep. I just need to... It's all right. He cut me off. His sigh was heavy. I was hoping... Never mind. He patted my shoulder, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. Thanks for being here with me. Maybe we can do this again sometime. If I ever see you again. Let's get you home. He rolled over to his feet and stood up, brushing off the dirt and fixing his satchel. Come on. We gathered our things and set off into the unknown once more. Well, unknown to me at least. Mychael seemed to have a map of this place ingrained in his brain. You seem a bit sleepy still, so let's freshen up, okay? We walked a bit further away from the clearing, crossing a river. Compared to the rest of the path we had walked on, this area was shaded considerably with a thick canopy of leaves over us. The flowing water looked inviting as I kneeled down by the bank, Mychael idling close by. I dipped my hands in, eager to wash my face. The water was refreshing and cooled my heated skin in the afternoon sun. I pulled my hands back to see Mychael peeking over my shoulder into my reflection, smiling with a faraway look on his face. He startled as our gazes met, irises darting away to look at himself instead. Immediately his expression changed. His ears flattened, a grimace twisting his features and lips curled back. I'd never seen such contempt in his eyes, as I did then, staring at his own visage. He stepped away, retreating underneath the cover of a tree to lean against it with crossed arms. He doesn't notice me watching. I patted my hands dry on my shirt and approached him. You ready? Yeah. I stopped him before he could turn to leave. He looked at me with a questioning look, tipping his head. I hesitated. I wasn't the type to speak my mind directly. Most of the times I would keep things to myself and let things go by. But nobody should look at themselves with that sort of a retraction. Hey, you know you're not, I might as well be frank. You're not a monster, Mychael. He looked taken aback. What makes you say that? I saw how you were looking at yourself. How you talk about yourself. None of it is true. I keep telling you that you're more than just your appearance. I don't know what compelled me to do it, but I did it anyway. I reached for his hands and held them between us. His eyes widened at the contact. All it took was a day with you, and truthfully, I think you're the most amazing person I've ever met. He made a choked noise. I'm just some old nobody compared to you. That's not... Shut up and listen. He promptly shut his mouth with an audible click of his teeth. From where I stand, you saved my life. You've taken care of me better than I could have ever asked from a stranger. That already proves to me that you're not the monster you think you are. You're charming, you're smart, you're sweet. You're a million more wonderful things, but you are not a monster. I take a second to compose myself, lowering my voice. You may look different, Mychael, but guess what? His multiple eyes stared into mine, ears flattening as they fearing the worst. That makes you all the more beautiful to me. His breath hitched. I could feel his hands squeezing mine, fingers trembling. It was like he forgot how to breathe. I realized my hands were getting sweaty. Knees weak, arms are heavy, there's vomit on his sweater already. I pulled away hastily, scratching at my neck and avoiding his gaze. I could feel the blood rush to my face. I could dunk my whole head in the river and it would probably let off steam. Sorry, that came out of nowhere. It just didn't feel right if I didn't say anything. I hope you understand. An awkward silence passed between the two of us. Anyways. I caught him mumbling under his breath. I can't let you leave. What? I said I can't let you leave. I mean, not without your cat, right? I frowned. I've already tried, Mychael. Like you said, it was stupid for me to just wander off into the woods, as if I'd find him through this dumb luck. He paused, his fists clenching. But I haven't... Huh? I haven't tried. I know these woods better than anyone. I can try looking for him. But that means that you can't leave yet. Mychael, I appreciate the offer, but I don't think I should stick around any longer. I have a job and responsibilities and... You hissed in pain, a sudden migraine overcoming your senses. You felt sick, your stomach wringing itself into knots. It felt like the world was warping around you as your legs wobbled. Your body buckled as you resisted the urge to vomit. Shit. Oh my god. Mychael caught you as you slumped gracelessly to the ground, your head resting on his shoulder as he cradled you close. Hey, you don't look so good. Your vision doubled as he spoke, his speech oozing together, words into an indecipherable mess. Are you okay? Do you need me to carry you home? Yes, please. Okay, no problem. Just hang in there. Hang on to me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this. If I could just one more day with you, I'd be the happiest man alive. Here we are. Let's get you tucked in. I should give you some clothes, especially since you'll be staying another night. You're okay with that, aren't you? That's all from day 2, Mushroom Oasis demo. More updates coming in the future. Tell me what you think of the game. Any support and feedback is highly appreciated. Thank you for playing. Heart. Ooh, that was really cool. I'm sure there's multiple endings, so I think I might play this again. If I do, I'll just make another video, because this is already a bloody long one. Plus, I think my audio has been fucking borked this entire time. So I might be playing it again anyways. We'll soon find out. Anyways, thanks for watching if you made it this far. Obviously, like, my cat, Suggs, is still here with us. No need to worry. Anyway, end of the video, I guess. Goodbye.